My name is Ruth. I'm from New Zealand and I teach piano online, but I am situated in a small beach town called Raglan. I found a piano picnic in 2016 and I've been teaching online since then, but I've also been involved in a lot of sheet music and method books that you probably recognize for the better part of like 15 years. Now, when I decided that I wanted to learn to play creative piano, it was pretty mysterious. There was nothing out there that was like, this is what you need to do. I remember I talked to one guy who I knew through church who played keyboard in the church, and when I was like a child or a teenager, and I was like, how do I, you play like, you're not even looking at music, like how do you play like that? Church was the biggest inspiration for me at that age, in terms of seeing musicians live like every week that knew what they were doing. And, he'd just be playing all over the place by ear. And there was another lady called Bridget who I ended up getting some lessons with, and she was able to comp on lead sheets for minimal information, be able to play awesome stuff. And that's just the stuff that I just loved and wanted to do. And I was waiting for that time. I was doing all my exams. I was doing the stuff that my piano teachers told me to do. And I was waiting for the point that I got to do the cool, fun stuff. And the sad thing is that I never got to do the fun stuff through that route. I had to find that myself and figure out how to do it all myself through trial and error and a lot of listening and studying. And eventually, the most I got in terms of formal training in that area was when I went and did an actual music degree. Now, I do this as a job because I think that people should be able to learn creative piano as a hobby, just like you learn traditional piano as a hobby, without having to go on the massive journey of self-discovery that I did, or get an entire music degree. Like, you shouldn't have to do that. So that's why I do what I do, and that's why I'm super passionate about it, because to me it's pretty cool that it's sort of like the secret thing that not many people know about, and I like to tell everyone about it. So there's a few things that you should know about me and my teaching. Is one, that I believe that theory gets a bad rap, and that's because the traditional piano method sort of taught it in conjunction with written music, and so you see all these squiggly lines. That black and white mess on the page doesn't really work for everybody, and so therefore you associate theory with that, and therefore theory is scary, right? But I don't think it is scary. It's just the way music works. In fact, it's really, really interesting, and it can be really addictive as well. The second thing I believe is that talent is not a barrier to entry. Anyone can learn the skills of the creative pianist, and those of us who weren't necessarily born with that prodigious talent that you sometimes see musicians as having, it just means we need to be a bit more purposeful with the things that we learn and make sure that we are going on the right path to be the type of pianist that we want to be. The third thing I believe is that reading sheet music is not essential. It definitely helps, but if you are someone who is totally put off by the sheer amount of stuff that you need to learn in order to read sheet music and how long that's going to take, just know that you can get into learning the piano, you can get into being a creative pianist with a bare minimum of note reading. You can learn things like how to play by ear, how to play from a chord sheet. Understanding chord symbols isn't necessarily reading notes. It's just chord symbols, right? It's different. You can learn to riff, you can learn to improvise, you can learn to write your own songs. And that's just a fact, my friend. Why traditional lessons and quick fix videos don't work. So traditional lessons, they do work. They do work, but this is what they work for. They work if you want to learn to read sheet music first and alongside technique. That's how out the gate, that's what you will do. And there's minimal ear training. There's minimal internalization, which is when we think about how the music makes us feel. And there's minimal creativity. You get really good at repertoire. You'll get great at your technique. You'll get great at memorization and performance. You get really good at performing in a high stress situation. Quick fix videos, why do they not work? Well, we learn to play songs, that's great. We learn individual concepts, that's great. But there's minimal understanding, there's minimal connecting the dots between those concepts. In terms of building your skill and learning more knowledge along the way, there's no learning path, which is the unfortunate thing about those sorts of quick fix videos. But the great thing is that they do teach you how to learn songs by rote, which is rote is the piano teacher term for, when you just watch someone playing something and you sort of learn that way. And they're great for finding answers. So if you have a specific question, like, can you remind me what the C major 7 chord is again? You can probably just Google that and a quick video will come up and you'll find your answer really quickly. So it is great for some things, just not actually learning to be a pianist. Becoming a creative pianist, learning this sort of way of doing things, the advantages are that you learn multiple ways to learn songs, and that's independent of other people, which means you can learn songs that no one else is teaching. When you learn your own ways of teaching yourself songs, then you don't need anyone, and you can choose songs that are totally obscure. You can understand how music works, means we can listen critically, we can make observations about what we hear, which has its benefits for riffing, playing by ear, improvising, songwriting, all of that stuff. That's all benefited by knowing how music works. You can connect your ear to what you hear and play. What's it good for? Learning songs by ear, learning to read lead sheets, learning to improvise, jam and riff with others or by yourself, compose, and total freedom. So how do we do that? Essentially, we're trying to strengthen our connection between all of these things. So when you learn piano the traditional way, it's mostly all about your fingers and maybe your eyes. When we do this situation with learning creatively, we are essentially becoming a more well-rounded musician, I guess. We might go, okay, my fingers have had to learn how to do that rhythm. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, that's cool, but I need to sort of go somewhere else. Why don't I go to a different chord? Okay, so now my brain goes, that doesn't work. Okay, that's ridiculous. I'm going to have to make a change. And so then you think, okay, what goes with these notes? I think probably that chord is going to go with it. So we're feeding back between our ears, our brain, what our brain thinks about what is happening, and then thinking about what we know about music and applying that to our fingers so that we can play something great. The way we get better at our creative skills is working on all those individual sections and on the connection as a whole. As long as we're strengthening all of those three things, we're becoming better and better creative pianists, developing all these wonderful skills. So you might be asking, is this right for you? How do you know? Have you done some soul searching? Do you know what your goals are as a pianist? How do you know if learning to play creatively is the thing that's right for you? So this isn't for you if you just want to learn to read sheet music. If you don't want to understand how music works, why wouldn't you? It's so amazing. Only want to learn to play classical repertoire, in which case the traditional method's going to be just fine for you. Your goal is to study for and sit graded exams, or you have no desire to play freely or be creative at the piano, then I can't help you. The things you will need: a piano, obviously, a bit of desire, so you need to have some sort of desire to want to play the piano. The thing about dreams is that we don't actually have to obtain them, but it's the working towards them that really is where all the joy is. A learner's attitude, it's so important, especially for adults. And commitment, this is a biggie. You got to be able to commit in a realistic way. Gotta have that curiosity. And if you don't have it right now, you will, because we definitely foster this. Creative Pianist membership, this is what it includes: all these courses, prepare to play super basic songs by ear. That's the beginning where you'll want to begin. You get into the club mix, which is for new members. You'll be guided through a fortnightly lesson to get all your essential skills. Then loving lead sheets is where you learn, which is, I think, the quickest and easiest way to learn new songs. You can grow your skills. You get to learn how to improvise in a peaceful style, unlock the vault of all the coaching sessions of the past. So we've got over 2 years worth of coaching replays. Got the yoga for pianists, which is more of that awesome stuff to look after your body. So riffing, learning to play in different styles, finding your skills, which is more advanced. You're learning how to riff over chords. This is so fun for learning how to use rhythm and be able to elaborate. And that everything all comes together for you to be able to write your own songs with the keys to songwriting. And I guide you through that. If you think you can't do it, you absolutely can. This is all based on feedback I've had from people going through the program. What are the results that you get? Jerry has said, amazed at the quality and detail of the lessons and the coaching sessions. The enthusiasm is infectious. She loves the handouts, looking forward to it. So that's the immediate result. How would you feel in a month's time? Mike, he was saying this. He's still a newbie, but he's blown away by the new course. He's jumped in with both feet, no parachute. In 3 months, what can you expect? Here's Mike again. He really likes the bite-sized lessons, supported by the comprehensive background. Theory is solid, instruction is solid. Not just about learning from a score sheet, creating the music that you want to play. What about in a year? We'll hear some comments from people. I've got lots more of these comments on my website if you ever want to check it out. When is it your turn? That's what I'm asking. If you want to learn to play the piano creatively, you can get started today. In fact, you can go right in there. Go to pianopicnic.com/creative. I hope that I can welcome some of you as newbies into the membership. Thank you so much for coming to this workshop today. I appreciate you and I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful week and remember to play it like you mean it.